All right, after our chat with Leo, we decided let's bring the car to the range and do a deep dive into how we armored it and the components that we actually used and how terminal ballistics works when impacting our product. If we look at the driver door, you can see the 4 impacts, obviously major impacts here and here, and impacts on the door, impacts up over there. If we focus on the impacts in the door, the shot came from 4 o'clock. This is a 7.62 hole, substantially bigger than the 5.56. Now that would have gone in, and if we take a look on the inside, the exit hole, if it had gone through the armor, would have been about here. We've checked the armor out and there was absolutely 0 penetration. So yeah, the lightweight synthetic in a door like this works absolutely phenomenally. This particular vehicle differs quite a bit from our bespoke luxury builds where we'll build Range Rovers and Bentleys and the like. So it's a lot more utilitarian in terms of the overlap. Now let's see what an overlap is, and this is a perfect example. 5.56 round came in and hit right on the edge of the ballistic block. That means it lost a bit of energy but managed to sneak through right up on the top. And if we take a look closely, you can actually see that there's a hole in the glass. That round then came through and impacted our overlap system. And the overlap system is designed to do just that. It provides an overlap where the ballistic glass stops, where there would potentially be a gap. We run an overlap system, and this system covers this whole section of the vehicle. So that round impacted and stopped. And as Leo mentioned, when he opened the door, the actual 5.56 bullet dropped out and dropped into his holster. Walking around, we've got the 2 frontal impacts. Great stops, and we're going to go into depth on those in a few minutes. If we look at the impacts on the left-hand door, and this is where Lloyd was sitting, looks like a 5.56 impact, given the cracks and the like on the glass. It's pretty distinctive sometimes. So I'd say this was a 5.56. And if we look on the inside of the glass, and this is a great example, is you've got the impact on that side, and on the inside you can barely feel a bulge. You might have a millimeter of deformation over here, but absolutely nothing. The round has absolutely expended its energy, so it didn't even get close to the overlap. Right, so we're sitting inside the armored Land Cruiser, and what we're going to do now is we're going to fire a shot from a 7.62 39 AK-47. The round's going to be traveling at around 2,320 feet per second, and it's going to impact the glass. Now what you can't see here is this is what the glass is made of. So this is premium Optima ballistic glass. This is some of the best ballistic glass in the world, and it's the only brand that we use. The round impacts what we call the strike face, and as it impacts, it shatters that first layer. By shattering, it's actually dissipating energy. It then gets to the second layer, dissipates more energy, gets to the third layer, dissipates more, and eventually just runs out of steam. And what's quite interesting, if I tap it, you can hear the difference. Now what we have on the inside is a layer of polycarbonate. That polycarbonate is there to catch any shards of glass that may have been generated by the impact of the bullet impacting the strike face. So yeah, that's how it works. Let's see it in real life. Okay, shooter, you may load and make ready. Shooter, are you ready? Stand by. Send it. Right, so the round's just impacted, and what you can see is cracks radiating out at different layers, and that's the energy dissipation. And kind of as it got closer to the end, or kind of in the center, you can see there's a lot of cracks, but radiated all the way out on the windscreen. And that was basically taking those joules of energy that were inbound and moving them out laterally. Moving my hand across this, I can feel a tiny little deformation, but really, yeah, if it's a half a mil, it's a lot. Okay, now the other guys have had fun shooting at me, it's my turn. Right, weapon is safe. Let's go and take a look. So effectively what we've got here is this windscreen is now taken 6 rounds, mix of 5.56 and 7.62 You can see the external impact, you can see the way the glass is cracked, and what's also interesting is you can see the difference between the 5.56s and the 7.62 That energy with a heavier bullet obviously causes a lot more disruption on the glass. The 5.56, a little bit lighter, although still substantial. Right, these are the 3 weapons platforms that we use today. This is the AK-47, iconic, easily recognizable, and unfortunately thousands and thousands and thousands on the streets. This is a copy of the Israeli Galil. In South Africa it's known as the R4 or the R5. Now what was quite interesting on the impacts is that the impact from the R4, slightly longer barrel, higher velocity, was greater than the impact from the R5 which impacted next to Lloyd's head. So this is the 5.56, and then the weapon I was using is my competition 223 Stag Arms, and this is the classic AR. So generally these 3 rifles are the rifles that are probably the most well-known and the most used rifles in the attacks in South Africa, in the cash in transit type attacks, and also we're finding attacks, kidnappings, etc., on normal civilians. And yeah, just very unfortunate that this is what we need to face. The fortunate part is if you're in an Armor Max vehicle, you're good to go. We're going to stop these rounds.